The longest total eclipse of the 21st century happened on July 22nd, 2009. Our guests were there. Stay tuned.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program by and for seniors and devoted to exploring the many facets of those better years of our lives. The name of our program was inspired by a quotation from Robert Browning. Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be, the last of life for which the first was made. Now, sit back and enjoy a program made especially to provide seniors with useful information, plus some lighter moments to brighten your day.
On July 22nd, 2009, the longest total solar eclipse of the 21st century took place over Eastern Asia and the Pacific Ocean. There, on a large ocean liner off the coast of Iwo Jima, within the shadow of the moon, were our guests for today's program. They were treated to a heavenly sight. I'm Val Jeffrey of The Better Part, and I'd like to introduce our guests, Ernie Paini.
Hi, Val.
And his daughter Elaine Paini.
Hi, Val.
And they witnessed the eclipse on that historic day. So, Ernie, how many eclipses now have you been to?
This was number 27.
27.
And Elaine has seen 3 of them now.
So what made you go with your dad on those 3, Elaine?
Because I like to travel with him, and he's the premier expert on solar eclipses now, and it's just a great way to enjoy a vacation. You know, what better way than to hang out with my dad and see a beautiful, beautiful sight.
Yeah. So I understand that originally you were going to watch it from the island of Iwo Jima, but that didn't happen, did it? Why was that?
That's right. We were originally going to go to Guam for a 1-week stay and then fly into Iwo Jima the morning of the eclipse, see the eclipse, see the island, and then fly back out to Guam. But the Japanese authorities figured there was too many expeditions going there, so they had to cut it. There's no facilities to handle more than 30 or 40 people, and here you're talking close to 1,000. So,
right. So what do you do?
After that, we looked and see where else we can go. Roy Mayhew had an expedition on a ship going out to by Iwo Jima and to the point of maximum eclipse, and that was 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So, being that we were going to get a chance to see Iwo Jima, which I wanted to all along because my brother's ship was sunk out there, it was perfect for us. So that's what we did. We signed up for it.
So you were lucky to get on a boat at that time, because there must have been a lot of people trying to get on there at the same time.
Well, there were still some vacancies, but we had almost 1,000 people that got on the ship.
Could you see the island of Iwo Jima from the boat?
Yes. Roy Mayhew's father, Bill, fought in that war on Iwo Jima, and between he and Roy were able to convince the skipper of the ship to give us a cruise right by the island, and it was perfect. The island's about 6 miles long and 2 miles wide, and of course down in the southern end we saw the famous Mount Suribachi, where the flag was raised when on Victory. Well, Victory those first few days. They took a real beating after that. In fact, they lost over 6,000 Marines and Army people, and Japanese lost close to 20,000.
Very significant.
But it was a real treat, and the weather that day was perfect.
So Elaine, tell us about the cruise ship. I understand it was an Italian ship, which is very appropriate.
Yes. It was like a floating city, and we had never been on a cruise before, so that was all new and exciting. And I thought I was just going to sit and read books and knit, but actually there was so much to do every single day. You could hear lectures on astronomy, on Iwo Jima, the history of Iwo Jima, shopping, arts and crafts. God, you could gamble, dance, you could do lessons in Italian. It was just fabulous. Plus all the friends that we met and the food that we ate. It was really superb. We had a great time.
So you started off by cruising the island, and then what happened?
From Iwo Jima, that
Yes.
island.
Mhm.
Then we saw the eclipse, went out to see the eclipse, and then after that was all done and all the celebration, then we sailed back into Kobe, Japan. That was our next port, and just a fabulous, fabulous city, just beautiful.
After we left Iwo Jima, we cruised to get onto the center line so that we can chase it, you know. And by chasing the eclipse, we gain about 3 seconds. Compare that to in 1973 when the Concorde, the French Concorde, raced across Africa and picked up 74 minutes of totality. It's the longest anybody's ever seen.
Just by going in the same direction.
And flying at supersonic
Some
speeds.
speeds. Yeah.
But we gained 3 seconds, so that was a record for being on a boat.
Well, that's good. That's why it was the longest eclipse.
Well, it was long to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I understand that you have some equipment here which you specially adapted to be on the boat. Right?
Right. And I'd like to explain what I did here. Hi, Val. To answer your question about the stabilizer, I will do that here at home, where it will be more convenient and more room. Since signing up for the boat cruise, I had just 6 months to design and build the stabilizer. For tools, I used my power saw, bandsaw, drill stand, and a metal lathe. Also, I used mostly wood and other parts I had in my stockpile or borrow from my neighbor, Chuck Johnson. The system is basically a reverse pendulum system, where the camcorder and weight unit is gravity stable, meaning the section should not move. The moving section is a tripod mount, which moves with the ship's wave motion. The reverse pendulum section consists of a camcorder mount assembly and a weight loading platform. The two are interconnected with a 2-foot length of 3/8 inch threaded rod material. For weight, I used 3 one-gallon jugs filled with water to provide a total of 24 pounds of weight. Before shipping, I squashed each jug flat to save space with almost 0 weight. At the destination, I just blew air into the top of the jug to expand them back to their original figure. The tripod system used was one of 3 I had built for earlier Eclipse mounts and modified it for the shipboard project. It supported the base platform, which houses the lower Teflon pressure bearing and the very important sun tracking motor assembly. The construction began with finding an acceptable main bearing for my design. I found a 3-inch diameter croquet ball made of wood and began by cutting it in half. I then drilled and tapped the center to accommodate a 3/8 inch threaded bar. The flat part of the ball was then attached to the camcorder mount. The round part of the ball formed the upper main bearing. The camcorder mount design included a circular turntable and performed several functions. The camcorder mount itself allowed both elevation and azimuth control. Slide mounts allowed quick insertion and removal of the camera. Elevation control utilized a 1/4 inch threaded screw assembly with smooth movements by a finger control knob. The mount required pointing the camcorder upright to see the eclipsed sun at an awkward 85 degrees overhead. The turntable formed the bottom part of the camcorder mount assembly. There I drilled 1/4 inch holes along one side, spaced every 1/2 inch along the periphery. The sun tracker unit consists of 2 DC motors, which each drive a 1/4 inch threaded rod. One is a slow motion motor that is geared to follow the sun across the sky. Its rod moves a finger clutch mechanism, which, when engaged, straddles the 1/4 inch wooden peg mounted on the side of the turntable. The finger mechanism is also designed to ride the waves. A second fast motor is used to make instant corrections by overriding the slow motor and place the sun image onto the sun's finder crosshair. A sun finder unit on the camcorder mount consisted of a U-shaped sheet metal design with a small hole at the input end and a crosshair target at the lower end. By moving the sun image onto the crosshair while adjusting both elevation and azimuth controls, provided a smart and easy means of aligning the viewfinder image with the sun. With the sun image on the crosshair, Elaine then went to the turntable for the next sun tracking operation. She then inserted a 1/4 inch wood peg nearest the finger clutch assembly. The finger clutch system was then lowered across the wood peg, which engages the slow or fast motor drives and in turn moves the turntable to track the sun across the sky. A handheld remote control moves the two motors as needed. A 12-volt battery is used to control each motor. The battery pack includes two 6-volt batteries connected in series to provide the 12 volts required to energize the motor. Not knowing the condition of the top deck of the ship during the eclipse, I stapled rubber boots to the bottom of each tripod leg to prevent slipping. The performance of the stabilizer was quite promising as a first try. Proof of this may be seen during the showing of our totality scenes taken by Elaine.
This is Rover the Bridge coming up on about 90 seconds, and you might start to see behind us the shadow of the eclipse approaches. The shadow will approach from behind, it will catch up with us, and at the conclusion of the total phase of the eclipse, it will speed up in front of us. Okay, 1 minute till second contact.
Huh? Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Oh, look at them rising.
I think I have to be on there. Hello?
No flash!
So, Elaine, what time did the eclipse start, and what did you do? What was your procedure?
About 10,
About
29, somewhere.
Yeah, about 10:29, and so you're starting to speed up and get excited, and this is it. And so I just started taking pictures of the first contact where the the moon touches the sun. And just looking at the crowds, I had before that wandered and looked at the ocean because it was so calm and just beautiful, and just started to wander. But now getting back into place, just checking my equipment, making sure Dad was okay with his equipment, and just watching everybody get excited.
So what's your what do you do at that time?
Well, first of all, I've got to make sure my camera's focused, because I was operating with my Rebel digital camera, and it had a 300mm lens in front of it, and it's sticking straight up. It's an awkward position to look. So I can look into a viewfinder and see where it's focused, but once I click the shutter, I can't see it. I have to, almost wring my neck to get a good view of it. So I took a guess as to what was happening, and I clicked away my sequence. I went from a 60th of a second down to a quarter of a second, and didn't dare go much lower than that, because you start getting that ship movement. I photographed every time the ship would go to one end on its roll and photograph there, and then wait till the next one comes in. That's the only way you can catch it. Otherwise you get big blur.
Do you feel that you accomplished everything that you wanted to do on this trip?
Yeah, just about everything, plus a lot more. But the one thing is my scanner. I went to turn that thing on, and it was near totality. Everybody was screaming, and I had to worry about...
Including her, I know, as usual.
And I had to worry about getting my camera in focus, and I thought I had hit the record button, but for some reason or other, it didn't go on. But after a while, I was enjoying what I was seeing on the viewfinder, all those beautiful clouds that you see there. And I said, boy, I got a winner here. And then after the show, I realized I didn't have that record button on.
Oh.
But that's why I have to go to the next one,
That's right.
Get it to work right. That's my excuse. Although my wife may not buy that. But
Well, I know she supports you in everything you do. That's the main thing.
that's right.
This was your third longest Saros family eclipse.
Right.
Did I get that right? Number
Right,
136. Tell us about
Right.
that.
Every eclipse that happens, partials, totals, whatnot, they all belong to a family.
Okay.
This family here is 136, happens to be one of the longest ones that ever occurred. And this is a map that shows 9 of the eclipses from Saros 136. The one I saw in Africa in 1973 was this one right here. And that's where the Concorde raced across all of Africa to capture 74 minutes. 18 years, 11 1/3 days later, the next one occurred, and instead of happening right there, it moves downstream 120 degrees because of the 1/3 of a day. And this one, we saw it in Baja California. And then the next one, of course, was the one we just saw over here, 18 years, 11 1/3 days later. It's over here again. And notice that each eclipse of this Saros moves upward. The first one started down the South Pole and moved up, and it'll end with a partial at the North Pole. Other eclipses, they vary all over the place as to what they look like. But you look at a map, and you can always tell which one belonged to a certain family, because they all give you that same trace, 120 degrees to the west.
So how many families are there?
There's between 36 and 38 families going at one time. When one sends its total family showings, then another one comes in, and they give it a new number. Each family lasts about between 1,200 to 1,500 years, so it takes that long to go through 90 eclipses, especially at 18 years apart. It takes a long time.
It is a long time.
But that's the story about Saros.
Did you say that one happened in Mexico? Did you tell me that?
Yes, the one in Mexico occurred here on 1991, July 11th, and that was a beauty. That was probably the best eclipse I've ever seen. We had streamers that went way out, almost out of the frame. And it had maximum sunspot activity. But for some reason or other, we don't know what's happening on the sun, but there's no sunspots up there. So that's why you get the sunflower effect, so on characteristics.
I know it was a wonderful eclipse, but I know there was another special reason for you being there.
Right. I wanted to see Iwo Jima since my brother's ship was sunk up in that direction there. We don't know where it was sunk. Nobody knows. But it's a funny thing. Enos, my brother, never said anything about it after he came back. I never asked him the question, what happened to him and what have you. But I read a document that his group sent out years later, and it talked about the happening. On February 21st, ship had just recovered a bunch of aircraft, and about an hour later, 2 Japanese kamikazes came in and they hit the middle of the deck and blew the ship up. And my brother, along with about 600 sailors, jumped into the water. They were in the cold and very wicked waters, and at the same time they were being strafed by the Japanese pilots. So they had a rough time out there for about 4 hours. But they were picked up by destroyers, and they got to see the raising of the flag 2 days later on February 23rd of 1945.
You went to the back of the ship. What was the significance of that?
I wanted to pay my tribute to my brother and to all the people that fought on that island, because they needed that island to get that airstrip. That's a halfway point between the Marianas and Japan. And when they flew up there to Japan without that island in the middle of the flight, a lot of times they couldn't make it all the way back because of bad weather. And that was a long trip. So that was the main reason we fought so hard to capture that island.
So you watched the eclipse, paid tribute to your brother, and then you went to Kobe, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
Kobe was gorgeous. Japan is just gorgeous. There's all this high jungle, dense forest behind this huge city, and the city's obviously on the. It's a port city, and it's just vibrant, alive, just beautiful. We got to spend 2 days, which was nice too. So we got some time to explore. Went to Osaka, saw a famous castle, their history museum. It's just totally different. It was just great. And we went with some friends of ours and just explored the whole city. And then one day Dad and I just took a city bus and just went all over, and just in the pouring rain, and but we just had a great time.
Is it easy to get around on the bus?
Yeah, it is. It was a city bus, and surprisingly people, even though you couldn't understand the language, there was a language barrier, we had people, we wanted a taxi, and one gentleman went out into the street and actually tried to hail a cab for us. So, you transverse that language barrier somehow, and people are very nice there, very nice.
Yeah. Kobe was hit by a tremendous earthquake here in 1995. They lost over 6,000 people. So, and they have quite a...
Is there a monument or anything there?
It's like sort of a monument.
Eternal light.
Yeah.
Candlelight.
And it takes up a whole block. So it was quite impressive. But
yeah.
There was a wicked earthquake there.
And then you went to another little island as well, off of South Korea.
Right. That
I
island,
don't know how you say it. Jeju?
Cheju. So that one we actually went on first on the trip, and they had a long lava tube, and at the end you were supposed to see this sort of lava configuration of, well, I guess melted lava, and it was called the turtle, and that was your goal, was to get to the end of this tube. And unfortunately Dad couldn't do it. It's very rocky inside and sort of dark, but if you went fast enough you could get to the end and get back in time to see the next thing. But that was pretty interesting, very trippy, let me put it that way.
I think you started the trip in Beijing and then you ended the trip in Beijing. Did you get a chance to look around there as well?
Yeah, actually the first night Dad had said, let's go to Tiananmen Square, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so tired because it's a long flight. And it's like, no, I don't want to go. It's like, no, come on, because we may not get this chance. Well, thank God we did. And we had a taxi driver that spoke no English, and we spoke no Chinese, and we didn't know where we were going to end up. But we ended up there, and he was very good about taking us directly into the Tiananmen Square. And
you got a hold of Elaine's camera, and he wanted to take the bus against Mao's picture in the background.
Oh, yeah. So that was great. But we also, the last day we were there, we were debating whether to go to the Great Wall of China. We'd heard, oh, it's too long, it's too hot, it's too crowded, it's too this. And we said, let's just go for it, because I had never been there. And actually, it was fabulous. I got to the very top, which I was really surprised. Another cruise member and myself, we kind of encouraged each other to get to the top. And I was so glad I did it. It was beautiful. It was just absolutely beautiful. And it wasn't crowded or hot, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a wonderful trip altogether, and it's really special that you can do it together. And I know you're not quite as agile as you were, Ernie, but you certainly get the pictures and the video to bring back.
Active over 80.
That's right. So thank you for being my guest, and I wish you many more eclipses.
Thank you. Thank you, Val.
Well, thanks, Val. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being our guest. It's Eclipse Day! When you wake up at 4 because you can't sleep no more, it's Eclipse Day. When you're scanning the sky for each cloud that goes by, it's Eclipse Day. Searching far and near, will the weather clear? Looking to the skies, I feel butterflies, it's Eclipse Day. But I've come here well armed with all my luck charms, it's Eclipse Day. When the moon hits your eye as it crosses the sky, it's Eclipse Day. When the sun starts to fade and you're soon in the shade, it's Eclipse Day. Little stars twinkle bright and shine, Mercury and Mars, Venus so divine, it's Eclipse Day. The corona is bliss, ask for more than this, it's Eclipse Day. It's Eclipse Day! If you'd like a copy of today's program, or any of the Better Part programs, please contact us at the Cupertino Senior Center, 408-777-3150, or visit our website, www.thebetterpart.com. A selection of our programs are also available through the Santa Clara County Library System and on YouTube. I'm Val Jeffrey for The Better Part, and I thank you for watching.